You are listening to a Sustainable World Radio podcast. Sustainable World Radio brings you in-depth interviews, news, and commentary about exciting, creative, and innovative ways of living. Produced in Santa Barbara, California, Sustainable World focuses on positive solutions to environmental challenges, solutions that adhere to the permaculture ethics, earth care, people care, fair share. Are you interested in learning more about permaculture projects around the globe, how to plant a food forest, restorative design, or ethnobotany? Then stay tuned to Sustainable World Radio. I'm Jill Cloutier.
This is Geoff Lawton. I'm the Managing Director of the Permaculture Research Institute Australia, and I'm here at Quail Springs, where we've been teaching a permaculture design certificate course for the last 13 days, and we've also just finished a Southern California permaculture convergence with people from all over the region getting together and networking about the growing permaculture movement and action there is around here.
How did you first get involved in permaculture?
I first saw the word permaculture in 1979 when I emigrated to Australia from England, and it was quite a new movement then. That was the first year permaculture was taught as a subject, and I was just interested in the word, and saw a few posters and displays about a local permaculture group where I was living in Australia, and I made inquiries and realised it was a system of a very common sense self-reliance and self-sufficiency. And quite quickly, after a little bit of education, I realised it was actually more than that. It was actually quite a design science-orientated subject, and there seemed to be a growing movement of people, and that's when I started to get involved.
My name is Nadia Abu Yahya. I'm from Jordan, and my background is my dad is a farmer, and he's an organic farmer, and he's from the Bedouin tribe, and my mom from the Jordanian tribe. And I took my permaculture class in 2000, and this is the first time I took my permaculture and I get to know about permaculture. I used to work a volunteer in Juhud organization in Geo, and I used to administrator and work with women. And then when I took permaculture BDC in 2000, and I get very inspired with the permaculture principle, and I loved the whole idea behind the subject, and then I took it very strongly, and I start my garden first in my home, in my backyard, and then I get the people interested in what I'm doing, and they came and ask me what you're doing and all that. And then from there I took it out to my village, and I helped the women and actually men too in my village to understand a little bit more permaculture and how they apply permaculture in their home garden.
Both of you have done very amazing projects, and I was actually going to open the interview with a question. I was just going to say, well, Geoff and Nadia, what else have you been up to besides greening the desert? What a task, and it's so inspiring. Could one or both of you explain what you've been doing on that project?
On the Greening the Desert project, we were, this is how my wife Nadia and I met, and that was working in the Dead Sea Valley for a Japanese aid organisation. And our main brief there, my main brief as the initial consultant, was to design a system to demonstrate sustainable agriculture in that very arid landscape. And more or less using permaculture education for the local people and permaculture arid landscape design, we managed to demonstrate that quite well over just a 3-year period, and came up with a very good result, which we have well documented, and that went on to influence the Ministry of Agriculture and many of the local people.
And the pictures I've seen are amazing, and your video on that as well. Nadia, do you have something to add to that?
In that time, I just amazed the whole things and just watch things really from behind, and just get put my head around the whole idea, because I'm very inspired with the whole things, and just watch it's very, very carefree. And after that, I got really well involved the whole idea and green in the desert, and from there I just took it.
Are you involved in that project still, or is one of the goals of permaculture to actually train locals so they can continue on with projects?
That project has gone on to inspire the Ministry of Agriculture, and is still in the local NGO's hands. We have moved on in that area to a new project, which is a little bit more urban on a smaller piece of land, and we're in the process of developing that. We've had some funds to purchase that land, so it will permanently be a demonstration site for Permaculture Research Institute, Jordan. And we've put in the initial earthworks and irrigation, and we're in the stage now of raising funds to build classroom and accommodation and catering and administration buildings, so that it goes on as an urban project, really, village urban, for the local poorer people of the area with smaller blocks of land. And we hope to have that open soon for international visitors.
Geoff, you've talked a lot about stepping over the line. Could you explain that to our listeners and why you feel it's important?
Yes, it's a rather unusual experience to be living in one life and yet believing that you could live another way, and a more sustainable way. And permaculture is something that allows you to realize that alternative way is very meaningful. So you want to live this meaningful life, and yet you daren't step over the line to be fully committed. So half the time or possibly at weekends, you move out of your normal security of a occupation or professional job, and you step over the line for the weekend, but then step back again. And while you're doing that, you're living one way, but wanting to live a completely different way. And it's as if you're dying every day, and you're kind of scared, and it's not pleasant to have these sort of psychological deaths every day. And in the end, it just gets too boring. It just gets frustrating and boring, and I'm just fed up with being scared and not making that full commitment. And I'd rather just step over the line and go forward in a way that's meaningful, in a way that makes at least an attempt to establish change in something you believe in. And something rather unusual happens, because that first step is quite scary, is terrifying, more than scary. But once you've made it, you actually find the next step on is much, much easier. And from there it gets easier and it gets quicker. And you actually, what turns from a step to a stride to a pace, turns into a run, turns into a charge. Now, in a charge mentality, you're charging towards something you see as the enemy, or the thing that you disapprove of, and what you want to change. And you have no fear, because you're in a rage and a charge, and you're moving forward, and at that time you start to function. That time you start to function quite clearly, and you never have fear again. Fear completely drops away. Obviously, we all have to face the one death we have to face, but you don't have to die every day anymore. You start to function, you start to move forward, you start to be meaningful, and something that's even more valuable actually happens. Time appears to expand in the moment. So you don't own the future, it hasn't happened. The moment is the engaging time that we're in right now, and you don't actually own that, you're engaged in it. And when you look back on time, time is very, very large when all of your life has been meaningful. When your life has been meaningless and you don't really enjoy it, time in the moment goes very, very slowly, and when you look back on it, it's gone very quick. So in a most unusual way, once you step over the line and you start to operate efficiently and you start to move in a meaningful direction, you've actually expanded your time within your life. And that's priceless. You can't buy that. You have to actually engage in the activity. You have to find the meaningful activity that creates that effect within your lifetime. And if I could explain that clearly enough, I think that would make permaculture as a design science way to live and evolution in thinking probably the most fastest expanding epidemic, and we could get to tipping point very quickly. If I could bottle it up and sell it, I would.
Well, I think you are, because really, I when you said that last night, I thought so many people I know are living that split. It's almost like we're not connected inside, and it's hard to connect and heal the earth when we're all living these split lives, where it is on the weekend you live your values, and then during the week a lot of people don't live their values. So it seems like permaculture kind of mends the two together, so you're living more in integrity with what you believe.
Yes, it allows you to start the journey from where you are to where you want to be and enjoy the journey. So it gives you that process so that you end up somewhere that is a destination you can have pride in, where you feel honourable, you feel moral, you have humility, and you still feel like you have dignity. So, and on the way there, you can feel that you are moving from your comfort zone, which along the journey you realise is actually a discomfort zone, towards your real comfort zone, which is somewhere which has true meaning. And that's a good journey. That's an enjoyable journey. And it seems very worthwhile. It has real wealth, real value. And its value and wealth beyond money. Money is not relevant to this.
Yes, I think it's the journey, right? And I think a lot of us, a lot of Americans probably especially, we're the most overly medicated country. I think a lot of people are searching for that and seeing counselors and really trying to find meaning in their lives. Would you both say, and then Nadia, I want to hear your ideas on that. Would you both say that permaculture almost provides a map or a template for that, or maybe a form for integrating and getting in touch with where you want to go in life?
Yes, I think from meaningful action and from a good return for your applied effort, with a few little checks and balances and protocols, those are things that are very much missing out of our non-traditional society. Our homogenized Western society lacks those checks and balances, processes and protocols that keep us on track. Permaculture allows us to move forward and discover our sense of, if you like, spirituality, our sense of appreciation of creation and existence. Whatever form you'd like to appreciate that in, or whichever way you'd like to see it, but it gives you that strength to see things clearly. And it is very, very practical at the base level. But in the end, your clarity of vision of the existence that you're in, the environment you're in, it's more than the environment. It's the feeling that you are central to the universe, and you understand the energy flows around you. So you suddenly have a meaningful way of seeing the world. That is something that controls your fears and makes you feel very, very secure. And as you share that with other people, and as other people share it with you, you feel more stable, you feel more secure and ensured that everything is going to be okay, and we're going to get through the dramas that we're in the present point in time, because everybody's starting to realize we've definitely got a few problems out there.
Well, my thing is really, for my opinion, when I heard Geoff saying that, is I agree, and I say, is permaculture for me to step the line like a chicken mechanism for myself, like as before, to know that the line I should be crossed it or not, is give me chance to actually talk to myself and see, like talk about really how I take my decision. And then soon I take my decision about I'm crossing the line, and that's it, I'm over, and I'm very committed to do that. And then when you cross that, you have a healthy lifestyle, is before, because you're thinking, I'm not sure what you're doing, and you suffer really. I say it is a suffer. You're suffering in your life. You're thinking about different life, and you live different life at the same time. And as soon as you cross that line, is actually give you a more healthy lifestyle, because give you that balance on yourself and give you more relaxation. Doesn't matter you reach what you want and why you make your decision straight away, but that is the start to reach where you're aiming to come in the end with it, and that's what you go feel like relax about your lifestyle and give you less. I don't know how I put it in words really.
Like almost like internal conflict.
Yes, yeah.
And a lot of people feel that permaculture. A lot of people just think of it, and this is the cliche, as gardening, but it's so much more.
Well, for me, I think Geoff will add later. For me, is permaculture not about gardening? It's permaculture. Maybe start with gardening to give you confidence to start something bigger than that. But really, is for me more than that. For me, when the start is, I fight actually is not just doing gardening, because people. Where I come from is different culture and different way for people living, and people take it a little bit of a joke for a start, and I had to fight, and that may be where my cross line start, to explain to the people about permaculture and explain what actually is permaculture, and then it's become is gardening, not just gardening. It's actually you're doing more than gardening. You're doing farmers, especially my background is a farmer. And you come to farming, you start little, and you show people what you're doing, and then you jump later on in bigger scale, and then like to community, because in a community when you do gardening and you add it all together, it's becomes bigger scale. Actually, it's not just gardening.
Yeah, it's one of the most common comments when students finish a permaculture design certificate course is that they say, "I didn't realise it was so much more than gardening." It's about energy systems and how we supply the energy we need, how we design our houses, how we design our waste systems. So all of these things are an asset to the environment we live in, how we design our communities so they interact together, and energy and money cycles within our community, and everybody gets a fair deal out of that. Yeah, food supply is one of our most regular needs, but there are so many other needs that have to integrate together to make it very easy to achieve what we actually require in human habitation and in total landscape. So designing sustainable human habitat out to the way human activities affect broad area catchments. All of these things we can design, but we have to actually consciously design, and we have to approach design in a way that we can use models out of the natural world, out of natural systems, so that we can go way beyond organic farming to ecosystemic design of even houses and towns and the way we pattern our landscape so that it works in a way that harmonizes with the actual landscape forms. It's a matter of understanding that we live in a landscape that's actually all patterned by the forces of nature. If you live in a rounded landscape, it's shaped by water. If you live in an arid, angular landscape, it's shaped by heat and wind. These are the energy forces that have shaped our landscape, and they just don't suddenly stop and start. There's a continuum of form across the landscape profiles. We need to cooperate and harmonize with these so that we reduce our energy footprint and we reduce our negative footprint on landscape. People get very excited about this because it's a mixture of art and science. It's a mixture of cooperative natural art with harmonious, appropriate science. So it's very technical. It's not necessarily totally going backwards because we have the technology that we have today and we have the ancient knowledge and ancient systems that people used before technology. They do fit together. It's not that technology won't fit with ancient knowledge. And all of this can become appropriate now. The appropriateness of design now is what permaculture is about. And when you think about something like organic gardening, it's really just one tool in a toolbox. There are many tools in the toolbox. And the toolbox is a specially designed carrying case for numbers of tools. And it has many different shelves and little compartments that make our tools tidy and easy to use. We don't design the tools in permaculture. We design the toolbox that the tools fit in. There are many tools. Organic gardening is just one of them. Energy systems are another. Local economics is another. Waste systems is another. Architecture is another. They're all tools within a toolbox. And the toolbox, that is permaculture, the toolbox design so that it works in an efficient, tidy way. We can put things together in a way that all the appropriate knowledge of mankind can be carried in one box, assembled in a tidy order and conveniently used in an efficient way. That's permaculture. There may be new tools that we can put into permaculture at any one time. That's fine if they're tools we need to use. That could well be coming about with the many changes there are in the world right now. We're not prejudiced to new tools, not at all. But we do need to have an efficient toolbox design for our use. And that's our design system. It's an integrated, interactive design. It is diverse, but it's not so complicated that people get lost in the design. Once you engage in the design exercise, it becomes something that is fascinating. It is definitely infectious and almost compulsive, actually.
I'd agree with that. It's kind of a positive addiction in a good way. Would you both say, is permaculture pretty accessible to anyone, or does it help if you have more of an engineering background, or if someone's listening right now and they think, this is I'm really excited about this. Is it accessible to most people?
I think so. Yeah, it is. Everybody can understand that. And when Geoff came to Jordan in 2000 and taught permaculture, most of the students with me can't read and write, and they all took it really well. You not need to have it's helped if you have a background engineering to understand more of the engineering things within permaculture. But I think everybody can understand it, and because it's permaculture gives you idea about different things, and you can go and find about it later on, and you just put it all together.
Yes, it really doesn't matter what type of life experience and background and profession and career you already have. It doesn't really matter if you have a lot of academic studies or credentials. Sometimes it's actually a disadvantage because you have to put those credentials down. You have to put that academia down to see things in a different way. Permaculture is a system that takes your life experiences, takes your life knowledge, and reformats it in a different order. So you actually reshuffle the knowledge and experiences you have in a pattern that makes it useful. Now, everybody has life experiences and some knowledge. And when it's reassembled in a harmonic form, you then realize where you have some deficiencies, where you have some need to study up on some of the subjects, so you feel confident as a holistic design subject, and you feel more confident across the subject. Now, a specialist will have specialties in one particular direction. That often means there's a lack of understanding in the other end of the subject, and it doesn't really matter. You have to cross the board of understanding. It's a subject that is about connections between disciplines, not disciplines themselves. And something really unusual happens during a 2-week design course. And we've realized now that it almost happens every time with everybody. As we teach the course, as people start to see the knowledge they have in a different pattern, they then realize those patterns make us reshuffle, readdress the knowledge we have reformat the knowledge we've had all this time in a different set of order, in a different set of folders. And many people come to the course and report that within 1 week of the course, halfway through the course, they start to record to us or recount to us that they've had dreams. They're dreaming about permaculture. What I believe is actually happening is, while their body is resting at night, their brain can't stop reshuffling the information. So it's reformatted in a way that they see the world through permaculture design eyes. And as nearly all students find it's a very positive subject, they actually have a positive intention to reassemble that knowledge, and their brain goes into, their memory and brain goes into overdrive and cannot stop while they're sleeping. And the very fact that they're still processing information while they sleep is almost an interesting credibility to permaculture, that this is a subject that's very useful, and you can rationalize and you can legitimize its usefulness to people and the way we live.
Both of you are doing amazing work around the globe, and I'm just wondering, what's a project or something that you feel really proud of? I'm sure there's many, but if you could just tell our listeners about one or two of those.
I think maybe Geoff will agree with me. I think is the first one is the most really job is we done, is actually Geoff done, is Green in the Desert. And the second one, the one I involved with Geoff teaching and travel with, is Vietnam one. This is the most project really I inspire with it. They took it and they just do it straight away. They don't question it or anything. We went there once. The year after we went back is everywhere. We have 5 projects around Vietnam, and now they're thinking about the Mekong River countries to actually teach in permaculture. We go in next month for a month to teach and try to train the trainer. They have a program now to train students, become teachers, and start teach around Asia. And that's the most really place we proud of it. We proud of all of our work we done around the world, but that the most one affect really us. And this is my opinion on them, I think.
Yes, that's correct. On the ground, the Green in the Desert project in the Jordan Valley had the most effect, as in the visual change from such a solid landscape through to a productive vision of an oasis, really, by design. And with such limited water, the comparison to the surrounding landscape was most dramatic. In a geopolitical area that's so well known, the Holy Lands, close to the Palestinian West Bank. The work we've done in Vietnam has been taken on by the local people at such an intense level and at such high quality. The quality of work, the quality of craftsmanship, the quality and emphasis on detail, and the amount of work that's been achieved in a small time is really hard to imagine that it can be done. And we were always shocked when we go back to our Vietnam projects, and there's more projects all the time, and they're covering more area. They now have 5 projects in Vietnam, but 1 in southern China and 1 in Laos, and they're expanding out through all the Mekong Delta or the Mekong catchment countries. And they intend to set a project up in every one of the Southeast Asian trading countries within the next few years. Incredibly determined. But if we don't look at project work as overseas, the work that we've done setting up local community groups, permaculture groups that work within their local government area, So our first group in Australia we established 17 years ago, and it's called Permaculture Noosa, because Noosa is the local government shire area, has bred numbers of groups, but that group still has over 100 people meeting every month. That system has spread throughout Australia, all through Sydney and 11 different local government areas. We always set a theme up to set permaculture local groups up where there is a local government name, because it's the local government that restricts you from having a sustainable lifestyle. It's almost illegal to be sustainable. Well, in a democracy, we vote people in to make decisions for us. Now, if we, the people, don't demonstrate what it is we want, and we can do it very passively by just showing that we are keen to meet and share successes and failures around sustainable lifestyle design process, and permaculture is that design. Now, Northern California, I taught these systems. Nadia and I inspired people to go forward you don't need any permission to do this. You can set up a local community group. It is every local community's right to demonstrate through local community groups what it is that the voting public would like. So Permaculture Marin now started up near California, near San Francisco. Other groups around San Francisco started. In the northeast, the Hudson Valley has now set up over 80 groups. Now we have 4 states with groups in the northeast. Now the Los Angeles area, and here north in Ojai, there's a permaculture group. Santa Barbara is setting up a permaculture group. This is a very passive way to demonstrate to our local politicians that there are some things that we would like to have approved. We would like to have foodscapes. We would like to have solar energy. In fact, we'd like it to be grid interactive, so we would like to feel good about not using so much energy, right? We would like to have grid interactive solar. We would like to get a good return for that solar when we pay it back to the grid. We would like to have reed bed grey water so that we're not damaging the environment, and we're benefiting the environment by a biologically clean grey water. We don't want to feel guilty when we pull the plug in the sink and let the soapy water go or the shower water go out. We'd like it to be cleaned up biologically in our own garden and benefit our own food plants. We would like the option to have compost toilets, and we'd like the local government to help us with these things. It's not a big education thing to understand a compost toilet. They're all over the world. It's very, very common. It's not something that's unheard of. There are many sustainable things that will make this area a better place. Now, if our local government isn't going to do this for us, then we have to help them understand that this is what we want. So that type of work I find the most inspiring. I'm absolutely enthralled when I hear people meeting, tolerating each other as a local community, getting to know each other a little bit better around this subject, and saying, okay, let's just do this. Let's just help each other. We don't have to have some trendy name. We just call ourselves Permaculture Ventura. It's the Ventura County. Those are the people we vote in. Let's help them understand what we, the people, want. And that, there's nothing more empowering than that. And it's absolutely genuine, passive action. If anybody needs any help with this, we can help you. There's lots of models out there, and they've all been successful because they're all genuine. It's just people helping the local government understand sustainability in action on the ground with the people, the voters, the people who vote for the local politicians.
You make it sound very simple, Geoff.
It is very simple, really.
So this is the retribalization process.
Yeah, I'm dubious to use the word tribal because it has connotations, but it's a matter of reprocessing and giving us the protocols so that we can rethread our communities back together around some common sense issues. And it's becoming common sense all the time, and I think it's becoming a sense of morality as well. We need to feel good about how we can shut down our destructive processes in our everyday lives. We need to feel responsible. Responsibility today is something that we should feel good about. Permaculture as a design subject gives us that ability to meet together and share that, and then in sharing that we get to realise who's who in our local community that we can work with. And I don't know any other way we can do this, because this is the obvious subject to glue us back together. So we don't have to go out off on tangents. It can be quite simple and basic what it is we're trying to rediscover about ourselves, so we can settle land, settle our communities, understand ourselves within community in a way that is good for the local environment. There's nothing wrong with development if it's beneficial to the ecosystems and environments we live in. That should be a criteria of environment. Nothing, exactly like there's nothing wrong with agriculture as long as it's creating soil, as it's producing surplus. If it's not producing soil, there's a very simple gauge. It's not sustainable. It's not caring for country. It's not caring for land. So our agricultural processes need to be reassessed, and in that reassessment we're going to obviously come up with a completely different design system.
So I get the feeling from talking to both of you for this half hour that would you say that you're hopeful for the future?
Yes, I'm hopeful for the future, because I have a vision of what the future could be. Unfortunately, I also have a vision for how the future could be in another way, and they're quite polarized. And working internationally through more than 30 countries now, I've seen the world get worse and worse and better at the same time. It's splitting apart in opposite directions. So the speed that we need to repair things is increasing. So 30 years ago, we had a bit of time on our hands. Now we don't have much time, but we have more ability. The speed of understanding is increasing exponentially. And I think what we need to do is push towards that tipping point as quickly as possible. Right now, the world needs our overpopulation. It needs people in a positive mode of operation. And we can all be positive. We are not inherently negative. Our school children need to know that. People are not inherently negative. People can be extremely positive. In fact, in nature, there are lessons that you can see everywhere. There is no negative without positive. There is no good without bad. There is no give without take, and it's a balance. So as negative as we presently are, we can be equally positive. As damaging as we are now to the ecosystem, we can be equally reparative. Now, as soon as we start to aspire to that, have that as our intention around the way we develop, the way we apply technology, we have hope. And it won't actually take very long, because there's a great synergy that happens with nature. Nature comes in and responds immediately to that intention of stewardship and repair. So we can resurrect the ecosystems of Earth to our advantage, and they can be richer and more abundant and more productive than they've ever been in the history of the world. We can occupy this Earth forever, but only by good design, and it has to be an evolution in human thinking.
Do you feel hopeful for the future, Nadia?
Yeah, of course. I really feel very hopeful. And I add what all he said just before. I'm just listening.
Me too. I feel like I'm floating on air. The guilt of being a human is evaporating.
That's good. That's really good. We should all start to feel that. There's no reason to feel guilty to be a human. You should be very proud to be a human. Proud because we can be the most reparative. We are the most reparative mechanism on Earth. There's nothing on this Earth more reparative than humans.
If someone's listening and they're just like, oh my gosh, I've got to take a course with these two wonderful people, how could they do so?
Yes, so you can contact us on our website, which is www.permaculture.org.au or www.permacultureusa.org is the American site, and permaculture.org.au is the Australian site.
And it's really just for any information, people they want to contact us personal, they can contact us through permaculture.org.au. But for fund or for more to know more about project and different things, they can contact the charity of USA. It's permacultureusa.org.
People ask me all the time, well, what is permaculture? If you could give a short definition of permaculture. I hate to do it to you. I'm sure people do it all the time, but I can't resist.
Well, it more or less changes every time to whoever asks the question, but I would say permaculture is definitely a system of design that provides all the needs of humanity in a way that is extremely positive for the environments of Earth and the ecosystems of Earth, so that all our activities have a positive effect, so that we become the most reparative mechanism that there is in position, living in amongst this absolute abundance that we're capable of creating.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
Pleasure.
You've been listening to a Sustainable World Radio podcast. For more information or to hear our other podcasts or interviews, visit www.sustainableworldradio.com. Sustainable World Radio is produced by Jill Cloutier. Music by Dana Lyons. Thanks for listening.